Today's episode is brought to you by SeatGeek, the presenting sponsor of the BS Podcast and Channel 33, as well as our favorite app for buying and selling tickets for sports and music. Go to SeatGeek.com/BS to start using SeatGeek, and don't forget to download the free SeatGeek app. Enter promo code BS. SeatGeek will send you $20 once you've made your first purchase, unless you're a Chiefs fan. Chiefs fans, stay out of New England. You're not going to the game on Saturday. You're not allowed on SeatGeek. Today's episode is also brought to you. House, this is going to make you hungry. Today's episode is also brought to you by NatureBox. They make delicious snacking. Seems smart and easy. You know who's been using NatureBox for a year or so? My wife. Yeah. They have over 100 snacks to choose from. Go healthy, go indulgent. They don't care. They just want you to snack away with their Smart Box guarantee. If you get a snack you don't like, they'll replace it in your next box for free.
Your wife is a world-class snacker.
Yeah, she
one of my
loves
favorite things when I visit.
Visit NatureBox.
Snacks.
Visit naturebox.com/BS. Get 50% off your first box. Again, approved by my wife. Let's go.
Yeah. Clear enough for you?
All right. What up, House?
Yeah.
All right, we're rolling.
Round two. Disappointing performance by us in round one. I was 2-0 heading into the Sunday games, and then took the 0-2 collar after. Well, I knew I was going to lose the Seattle game once Marshawn Lynch decided not to make the trip. Thanks, Marshawn. Thanks for that. But your favorite team, the Washington Professional Football Team, they let you down. They let me down. They let the District of Columbia down.
Well,
any residual
it was
thoughts?
a gravy game. It was a gravy game.
Oh, you're such a loser. That's such a loser mentality. When's the last time
what are you
Washington's
talking about?
When you haven't won a title in eons, that's what you say is, it was a gravy game. It was the playoffs. Oh.
Hey, buddy, we haven't won a playoff game in eons.
True.
Forget about a title.
When was the last Washington title?
The last Washington
91?
title. The 91 Super Bowl. The Caps played in the Stanley Cup in 98.
That's it, right?
And that's the closest. 98, 99, somewhere like that.
Why doesn't anyone ever call Washington, D.C. sports fans tortured? You've had 25 years of hell.
I will rep DCU a little bit, the red and the black. The DC United soccer program has had some success over that time period. Soccer is very popular here in Washington.
Let's recap your points. Our playoff loss was gravy, and at least we have the DC United.
It was a one-score game with 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and then it all went to hell. But, the defense was smoke and mirrors the whole season anyway.
Yeah, I wish you had told me that before I picked the Washington Professional Football Team.
I wasn't going to go against them. I didn't have any angles or insider points on the stupid DC Grudens. It's just I'm not picking against them in the playoffs. We both went 2-2. I had the big losers in both games, Houston and the DCs.
I do think if Deshaun Jackson just reaches out and puts the ball over the goal line, which is what most people do when they're next to the goal line, you're up 9-0, and maybe the game's a little different at that point. Green Bay.
It's a two score rather than a one score for sure.
Green Bay really got into the zone.
It was old vintage. A-Rod. What's he go by?
Not A-Rod. I'm going to say he's going to veto
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I have A-Rod on the brain, and we'll get to it a little while later during the discussion today.
I don't even want to know what that means.
I have a personal thing. Maybe I'll just tell about it now since I have A-Rod on the brain. Did you know that I tore my rotator cuff?
When?
Did I tell you that? It's a full. I probably did it in 2014, and then really did serious damage over the fall of this year because I never really got it fixed. Full thickness tear of the supraspinatus is the diagnosis. But guess what? What I have scheduled for Tuesday?
HGH?
Almost. Platelet-rich plasma, buddy.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, Kobe, Tiger, A-Rod.
Oh, that's great.
All my heroes. Derrick Rose, I'm going in there, buddy, and doing it. I'm going right in. If it's good enough for Kobe and A-Rod, it's good enough for me.
Are you doing it with a director from Canada who doesn't have U.S. citizenship and has weird connections to biogenesis clinics?
I just want to let you know that this treatment was approved for the 2014 Winter Olympics.
Oh, there you go. Well,
it offers an exciting, safe, and simple option for improving tendon repair quality and the rate of healing. So, how could I say no?
I'm really excited. I hope you should just ask your doctor, float it out about the HGH. Just ask him. Hey, man.
I'm sitting in there. I'm laying down.
Yeah, just ask him.
He's taking the blood. He's putting the blood back in. What about a little shot of something extra just for the effort?
All right, so we're gonna zoom through these a little bit because we got to bring in JackO because he's having a psychotic meltdown about the Republican Party.
Because the fate of the free world is in the balance.
Yeah,
at the moment.
And I'm gonna call my dad at the tail end just because he's got medics in the house 24/7 after the Gronk, Chandler Jones, all this stuff. So he's freaking out. Pats KC is the first Saturday game. Pats are favored by 5. This game is in the Vegas zone.
4.5. Well, it doesn't make a difference between 4.5 and 5. I did.
Interesting.
I have it open right now, and it says 4.5.
I've seen 5 everywhere. Well, regardless, we'll say it's 5.
Okay.
Couple red flags here for the Patriots. Their best pass rusher was reportedly shirtless outside a police station and acting bizarre and might have had.
He got down on his knees.
Might have had a really bad what do you call it? Reaction to synthetic marijuana. Which, if this happened to any other team, I would be making fun of this person. But since it's one of the Patriots, I have no comment. That was weird. Belichick had a black guy at the press conference, which he refused to explain. I thought that was strange. Gronkowski went to the hospital yesterday for reasons that remain unclear. Edelman is playing tomorrow, but we haven't seen him in 2 weeks. Amendola's playing, but he's a little bit banged up. We've had 77,000 different offensive line combinations, and people seem to like the Chiefs a little bit. Where do you stand?
There's a lot to like with the Chiefs. The run that they're on is coming up on kind of historic. They have had great success against the point spread this season in terms of the differential, and the performance last week was dominant. And yet, I'm not selecting the Chiefs this week either.
Well, so here's what I love about this game. And we see it pretty much every year. Somebody kicks somebody else's ass in round 1, usually the worst team in round 1. And they're feeling good. Everybody is catching the fumes of that round 1 blowout. They get excited for that team in round 2, and they go on the road and they get killed. That happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
I'm hoping that happens here. My thing is, I think the Pats defense is really good. Like really good, and everybody's back now, and I just think the Chiefs are going to have a crap load of trouble moving the ball, especially whether Macklin plays or not. Either he's not going to play or he's going to play at like 50%. Either way, that's great for the Pats. The Chiefs have their, the Charkandrick, West, Spencer Ware. Those guys are fine.
Yeah,
they're not
good.
game breakers. I'm not terrified of them. The tight end's really good, Kelsey. One thing the Patriots linebackers can do when they're all healthy is they can stay with the tight ends.
Yeah.
I just think the Chiefs are going to have a ton of trouble moving the ball. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game than people think. I also think just people forget how good the Patriots are when they have everybody.
That's well, it's easy to forget. It's been a long time.
The whole offense revolves around Gronk at the line as a blocker, but able to go straight out down the field or cut out or do whatever Gronk does. But then these two receivers that either run across each other in the middle or act like they're running across each other and then cut back out. And you open up that whole middle of the field, and the defense is so worried about that. It takes the pressure off the offensive line. But my point is, you can't pull any of those people out of that and then expect the offense to look good. It really hinges on those three guys.
Is James White the release valve running back?
He's like the third down guy. I actually think they're going to rely on Steven Jackson.
That is what I wanted to hear. That's so funny in the first place.
They took him for a test
but
drive.
But also kind of exciting.
They took him for a test drive in week 17. He looked good.
Yeah.
He's only 32. He's still in shape. It's not like he's Corey Dillon in 2005 or something, but he can pass block. He can run. He can get the ball in the backfield. And I think what you're going to see is him out there with Gronk, Edelman, Amendola, and it's going to look like the Patriots again. And when the Patriots have all their guys, guess what? They score points.
I just think, look, in the playoffs, you go against Belichick at your peril. 4-0-1 against the spread off back-to-back losses. Since 1980 in the conference semifinals, teams that lost last 2 games this season, 6-0 against the spread. I mean, you can't talk me into the Chiefs if I'm not getting a full touchdown.
Here's what they did when they had their full offense. 28 points against Pittsburgh, 40 against Buffalo, 51 against Jacksonville, 30 against Dallas, 34 against Indy, 30 against the Jets, 36 against Miami, 27 against Washington, 27 against the Giants. That was the first 10 weeks of the season. They never had less than 27 points in a game.
Yeah.
So the question is, now that everybody's back, I would say 27 is about where they're going to end up in this game, especially if Justin Houston doesn't play. So can the Chiefs get over 20 with Macklin hurt and with the Pats defense, which again is a really good defense, and came on as the season went along. And B, can the Chiefs get to 28 to actually win the game? I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm. This is the thing. I like to, when I'm envisioning a line in this dead number 4.5, 5. What's the final score that I like? And I like something like 27-20 or 27-21.
One more case for the Chiefs. Randy from our old Grantland baseball writer brought this up to me. Diehard KC fan. Feels like his life has been irrevocably altered by the World Series. Everything he looks at now, he looks at differently. His point is, he never thought they could win the World Series with Ned Yost.
Sure.
And now he looks at Andy Reid, and Randy said, like, Andy Reid is basically at Ned Yost. He's like this weird, eccentric guy. Weird things happen. You think you don't have a chance with him, and yet there's really no difference between those two from they get results.
I like that.
They make you nervous. And he's just like, now that I've won a World Series with Ned Yost, I feel so much more comfortable with Andy Reid in the playoffs. And I was like, damn,
wow.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
But it's still Belichick against Andy Reid. I think the Pats are pissed off. I think this is going to be a pissed off Pats game. Like with all the media stuff this week, I think Belichick's mad. They didn't end the season well. They haven't looked like themselves in a few weeks. And
but
I think they're
annoyed. The media
annoyed.
stuff is kind of funny. It's not media stuff. It's the defensive lineman on his knees at the police station.
Well, you can't judge.
He couldn't really speak. He's just on his knees with his hands crossed in prayer.
We don't know what happened.
Couldn't really explain what was wrong with him.
We don't know what happened. Look,
I enjoyed that.
Most males have been in a spot in their lives where they might have put something into their body that they shouldn't have and had a reaction that they weren't proud of. That's my defense of Chandler Jones.
I hope to be doing that outside my bedroom tonight after the meatloaf I intend to eat for Friday night dinner.
I remember when I was living in Charlestown in the mid-'90s, we had a baseball draft. Remember the baseball draft? You and JackO and you were called the Blackjacks. Yeah. You and JackO had a team. People don't realize that you and JackO are like, you're like boys.
We're thick as thieves, and it's not coincidental that we sound identical. Everybody keeps saying we sound alike. There's a reason. We're boys.
So we had a baseball draft. We went to a couple bars, and we ended up at Sully's in Charlestown. My favorite bar. Shout out to Sully's. Shout out to Jack at Sully's. That's my dude. We're all there. We're hanging out, and you disappear. You're just gone. We're like, that's weird. Where's House? House is gone. Right? He must have gone. We just immediately assume you went to find food. Maybe an hour and a half passed. No sign of House. Go back to my apartment, which was, a 5-minute walk from Sully's. I'm on the second floor. Walk up the stairs, and you're just passed out like a corpse in front of the front door. Do you remember this?
Yeah, well, so you're missing two crucial details.
Oh, okay.
I do remember it. I remember it acutely.
Yeah.
Well, one crucial detail. One of the visitors at that time. Now, it was the occasion was the baseball draft for all of us to be together there.
Yeah.
But we had one of our near and dear friends, the Blue Boy, who's made many appearances over the years. These things.
Yeah.
Was living in Portland at the time, but was back on the East Coast at the time of this draft.
It might have brought some stuff from Portland.
He He arrived from Portland. That's right.
He was packing.
Speaking of a nature box, the blue boy had a nature bag. And, I'm not a person that really cares so much about, getting
I get you.
under the influence.
Yeah,
I'm a dabbler.
Yeah.
I'm a dabbler. The blue boy, what was in his nature bag, did something to me. It rendered me speechless, literally speechless, while we were out at the bars. And I had to leave. I made a gesture to somebody that I was leaving. I came back and sat on that stoop and waited for my ability to speak to return.
And it didn't.
Words could not come out of my mouth.
Yeah. So
thanks, Blue Boy.
So if there had been the Foxborough police station nearby, you might have ended up there shirtless.
And on my knees.
Yeah. So that's my point. We've all been there. I'll tell my story next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff happens. Chandler Jones. Hey, by the way, obviously I'm in my mid-40s now. I'm not really the synthetic marijuana generation. I do not understand synthetic. Like it sounds like people are just smoking poison.
This is the thing that's very scary to me. How the hell is there any quality control? What do you know you're getting? I think what Blue Boy gave me had something funky added to it. I think he gave me a PCP bomb.
I think it was just Oregon. They just grow it better. It's nice and moist.
My system was not ready for that. Anything like that.
We were in the East Coast smoking skunk weed.
Well, I didn't even smoke. I'm just this vanilla kid from Washington, D.C.
That's why I retired when I moved to California. It was like going from single A to the majors for that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, kids out there don't smoke. Let's go.
I mean, I don't support it. I mean, you might end up speechless.
Bad for your lungs. Bad for your lungs. You might end up speechless. You might end up on your knees in the Foxborough police station. Just stay away. Just drink beer. Or Tate, you're listening? Just drink liquor with no stuff like cranberry juice, soda like that. Just be careful.
Clear liquor.
Watch your body when you get older. Yeah, when you get older,
delicious vodka with a splash of water and a little lemon. That's a wonderful drink.
You feel all the mistakes you made in your 20s when you hit your 40s. I'll leave it at that.
You do.
Next game, Broncos Steelers.
And on that note,
yeah.
So we still have no idea who the hell's playing for Pittsburgh, right?
No, we have some idea. Antonio Brown is now out. That just happened. Yeah.
So the line's going to move.
The line is now Broncos 9.
Yeah, you had to buy it at 7. Earlier, it opened at 5.5. It immediately jumped to 7. And if you didn't buy it at 7, you're 9. I don't like.
The good news.
I'm not picking Pittsburgh, but I don't like 9.
The good news is that Ben Roethlisberger has a ripped up shoulder. He's going to play anyway.
So the problem with taking Pittsburgh is putting your fate in the potential hands of Landry Jones. Right?
I would say that's more than a problem. I would say that's a terrifying proposition. You're not
on the road.
Yeah.
Against the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, but do either of us really think Denver's the best defense in the NFL? I don't think that.
No, they over the course of the season.
I know, but
they held it together in an impressive way. They really rendered the inefficiency at quarterback, which is a pretty interesting accomplishment in this day and age, where quarterback is by far the most important position in the entire game. They were able to overcome a pretty abysmal quarterback situation.
So
with that defense.
Let me ask you, Ben Roethlisberger with a banged up shoulder, is that any different than Peyton Manning with his current body? Can he do that?
In the sense that he might not be able to play, yes, right?
No, he's playing.
He might come out after a series. The first time he gets knocked down, and it's going to happen in the first possession.
I think he's playing. I think that guy's indestructible.
I agree that he's playing. I'm just saying he might be re-injured in a way that really limits his effectiveness very early in the game, and then you're stuck with super injured Ben or Landry Jones. And we saw that last week. It wasn't a good combo.
The other issue is with Brown out. Like I thought Pittsburgh's receivers were excellent. But one of the reasons Martavis Bryant is excellent is he's the number 2 receiver with Antonio Brown, and they're worried about Antonio Brown, and he's going against the second best guy on the other team, that whole thing. Now the defenses can actually try to take him out, which leads us to Wheaton, who now has to actually make some plays. And then on top of it, you have I don't even remember. I can't even remember the third string running back's name. Francois Toussaint.
Yeah, Francois Pierre Trufant.
Yeah, that guy. If they fall behind like 10-0, you'd be concerned. Now here's the case for Pittsburgh.
Let's hear it.
Number one, it's the playoffs, which means Aqib Talib will be leaving the game in the second quarter with an injury, never to return, because that's his move. And I'm not bitter at all about that as a Pats fan. But Pittsburgh's defense might be able to stop Denver a little bit here. They have like the 5th or 6th ranked run defense. Might even be higher than that. And I think they have the 6th ranked defense overall. The one thing that they're bad at is stopping deep balls. Manning can't really throw deep. So this might just be like a 10-7 game where they have a chance to steal it. And, who knows with Manning? Are we sure Peyton Manning's good? The guy was 9 TDs and 17 picks when he got benched for a few weeks because he was hurt.
Yeah, we have no idea whether he's good. But I just can't lay the points with all the injuries at Pittsburgh.
It's a lot of points, man.
Well, the difference between 7 and 9, I'm going to go back into the combobulator and try and come up with some angles. I like Denver pretty well at 7.
Yeah,
and that's the pick that appears on in a public place. That's the pick that I'll be making.
Well, there's going to be one wonk game this week, and this one has the most potential, I think. I could totally see Pittsburgh winning this game and like everyone teasing Denver with everything and throwing them in every parlay. And, oh, yeah, Antonio Brown's out, Roethlisberger's hurt. Cross off Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, a week ago, we were saying Pittsburgh was the biggest sleeper threat in the AFC. So, and I totally get the reasons. My point is, we've gone from
an extraordinary sequence at the end of that Bengals game, a snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
I get
the
it.
likes of which,
I get it. It just 9 seems high. I don't believe in this Denver team. 9 seems high. Let's congratulate them though for being the luckiest team ever. I think this is the luckiest NFL team that's ever
like
lived.
A true Pats fan.
They put the horseshoe that lives up Denver's ass is like encrusted in little diamond studs. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I'm bitter.
You are bitter.
Congratulations I think Peyton Manning might have killed Al Jazeera America.
He did do that.
There's a little cause and effect there, right?
Talk about a W.
I won't sue you, but just shut the whole thing down and we'll be good.
I like that. He never denied that his wife got the HGH, by the way.
No.
Has your wife ever gotten any HGH?
I don't know anybody who has gotten HGH. I've never met one person in my life who has gotten HGH except for Jacoby's grandmother.
Jacoby's grandmother.
Who's 92 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm going to do something crazy here.
Go ahead.
I'm going to take the Steelers.
It's not that crazy. Big Ben obviously has a really good record, 3-1 against the spread as a road dog. Peyton's terrible at home with rest during the postseason. 1-6 against the spread. 0-5 against the spread if his team's favored by 7 or more.
I think it's I just think it's a low scoring game. I think the defenses control this game, and I think Pittsburgh goes super conservative, and they try to have their defense make plays, and they try to get Manning to lose the game, and that's their game plan.
I like the narrative. Yeah. I like the narrative. I don't know the answer yet to who I'm going to pick, but I like the narrative.
All right. I also want to.
I would have bought Denver at 7 this morning. Here's my money. Denver -7.
The move.
That's what I would have done.
By the way, I think this game's a stay away. I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't do anything. Right. I'm saying I just have to pick it. But the move, if I had to do anything in this game, is Pittsburgh plus 300 to win outright.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That's just those are good odds. They could win. Manning could just suck in this game. He could throw 3 picks and single-handedly blow it for Denver. All right. Let's go. Let's say Panthers-Seahawks for last. Cardinals-Packers. Cards by 7? You have it at 7?
I have it at 7, yep.
I just think Arizona's great. I'm not thrown off at all by the Week 17 thing. I don't think the Packers are very good. I watched a lot of Packers games this year. The 3 quarters they played in Washington, the second, third, and fourth quarters, had no relation to anything I saw for 3 months from them, other than the one Minnesota game when Bridgewater got hurt.
That's right.
I just don't think Green Bay is very good. And I think Arizona is great. I think they're a monster home team. And I just think they're going to roll over them. This feels like a 40 to... This feels like one of those games where Rodgers is down 28 and is kind of rallying back, and you get worried about laying the -7 in the fourth quarter because he's going for cheap touchdowns. I just don't think they have any chance to beat Arizona.
I agree with every single thing you just said. I have a tiny angle to add into it. Teams that lost their last regular season game and then won in the wild card cover 10% of the time. Yep. When they're going up against a team that like Arizona lost its last regular season game. But, I mean, Arizona, number 1 ranked offense, number 5 ranked defense. The difference in class between the D.C. Grudens and the Arizona Cardinals is sizable. And I was impressed by Green Bay. It was a good lesson for the D.C. Grudens to see what kind of a seasoned outfit, the combination of McCarthy and Rodgers. They gave Randall Cobb the ball in about 15 different positions during that game, and Washington can't figure out a way to get Deshaun Jackson the ball. It was a good lesson for the D.C. Grudens, but lesson time play. Going up against a team like the D.C. Grudens, who you make the playoffs once every presidential election cycle, and going up against Bruce Arians is a good effing coach. Every week I look at the numbers for him in situations like this, and he's just kicking ass and taking names.
Well,
difference in class. I love Arizona here.
So I keep track of the straight wins, straight losses, and either-or games. Arizona had 12 legitimate wins, 2 legitimate losses, and 2 either-or games this season.
That was the best record in the NFL, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was up there. And in 7 of those wins, which I always, if you just kick somebody's ass, I always write ass kick next to it. It's 7 of the 12 wins were ass kicks. 48-23 over Chicago, 47-7 over San Francisco, 42-17 Detroit, 27-3 Rams, 40-17 Eagles, and then and they killed the Packers in Week 16. 6 of them. I'm sorry, not 7. Oh no, and they killed the Browns, 34-20. My point is, they pour it on when they're up, and I think that's a crucial thing to remember, and especially in round 2 with like 7 points. Oh, that's a lot. Certain teams just turn it up when they have the lead, and this is one of those teams. I love the running back, the rookie running back. I think he's really good. It's
incredible they're on their 3rd running back, and all of the running backs this season have been badasses.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
By contrast, Denver, who had 4 legitimate wins, 3 legitimate losses, and 9 either-or games. Here are the margins that they won this year. 6 points, 7, 12, 3, 6, 3 in overtime, 19 over the Packers. That was their biggest win. 2, 6 over the Pats in OT. They beat the Chargers 17-3, so 14. Week 16, they won by 3. Week 17, they won by 7. This is not a team that blow. Yeah, they don't blow teams out.
I'm taking Pittsburgh.
You're switching?
If I'm at 9 or 9.5. Well, I want to see if the line goes up. I'm switching at 9. This was breaking news that the line went from 7 to 9 because Brown was confirmed out.
Let's take Pittsburgh. Whatever. Let's take Pittsburgh plus 9.
Yeah, I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Very hard for Denver to win by 14 plus. Like, they just don't have the track record this season. If it was Pittsburgh and Arizona, I'd be like, no effing way. I'm taking Arizona. Like they're going to pour it on. Denver is not a pour it on team. All right, last game. By the way, Arizona has the best Super Bowl odds, plus 360. Pats are plus 400. Carolina's plus 500. Denver is plus 500 now.
That's kind of interesting.
Seattle plus 575. And then it gets a little wonky after that. All right, last game. Panthers, Seahawks. It's been between 1.5 and 2. We'll just call it 2. Panthers were 15-1 this year. They did not lose a game at home. They have 2 weeks rest. They have the best player in the league. They're playing a team that just played one of the all-time debilitating cold weather games ever and should have lost if somebody had made a 22-yard field goal and looked impotent offensively except for the play when the ball got snapped past Russell and he picked it up and was going to take a sack but realized nobody was going to sack him and ran around and got a 50-yard play out of it. That team is getting less than 3 points in Carolina. I don't think I've seen a nobody believes in us game like this in a while for Carolina. I mean, this is just flat out insulting. How are they not favored by 3, House?
I think at this stage of what are we, a full half decade in with Seattle and the success that they keep showing in the playoffs? Is it 5 years now?
It's 4 years. Yeah, they played 2 playoff games in 2012. They won the Super Bowl the next year, and they lost in the last minute of the Super Bowl last year. They've played, I think, 8 or 9 playoff games in the last 3 years, and all of them have been close. They have not gotten their ass kicked once.
So that run of sustained success in the playoffs makes it such that, you want folks to Vegas wants people to play the Panthers. They have to entice people. Now, I saw in here that Panthers had 70% of the action at 3, and I guess because it's on that magic number. But everybody sort of commentator or whatever that I look at in terms of making picks loves Seattle in this position, and I love Seattle in this position. It's a different Seattle team than the one that lost to Carolina mid-season. And by the way, they had 15 different ways to win that game. They were winning the entire game until they lost. And, Panthers missing 2 of the top 3 cornerbacks. Seattle has now a whole bunch of defensive guys that they didn't have the first time they met, including my boy Bobby Wagner and my boy Jeremy Lane, two of the greats. I like we talked about this last week. Seattle has their starting defense. Now, last week, we called that almost perfect. Did you? You took Seattle because the Marshawn Lynch thing. I said it was going to be 10-7. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be 10-9, but
the cousin I teased Seattle with the under, and won, but I don't feel good about it because Blair Walsh's life was ruined, and I like Vikings fans, and I don't.
Did you saw it? No, did you see the story? Blair Walsh was with the first graders.
Oh, that's nice.
A whole bunch of first graders wrote him "Don't feel bad" notes, and then he went and visited with them. He's okay. Blair's all right.
Well, before we give our picks for the best game of the weekend, I want to talk about our buddies at Squarespace. They build fantastic websites for normal people like Joe House.
I'm semi-normal.
You just launched. That's true. You're not normal. You just launched a new Squarespace site. It's called housefromdc.com.
It's a fact.
Go to housefromdc.com. Check that out. Well, what's going to be on this site? House, did Squarespace make it easy for you to build beautiful websites regardless of skill level, no coding needed, easy to use tools, and state-of-the-art technology?
I'm a middle-aged non-millennial, and I have to tell you, I was able, with a little bit of help from a millennial, to navigate around, figure the thing out. There's pictures, there's words, there's tabs. There's a website, housefromdc.com. There might be some food in there. There might be some links to Friday Rollin in there. There might be some links to some old house eats popping out of that thing. It's a place to go in there and enjoy the silliness that is this character, House from DC.
House, do you realize you're getting 24/7 online support and a beautiful website for only $8 a month?
I did not realize that.
Did you realize that you got a free domain for buying Squarespace for the year?
I did realize that. That made me happy.
Did you go to squarespace.com and use the offer code BS for 10% off your first purchase?
I don't think I remember to do that, to be honest.
Gosh darn it.
10%. Right. I could have had off.
Yeah, 10%. It would have been great. All right, housefromdc.com. Check it out. House is the most computer illiterate person I know and somehow has a functional website. And we look forward to you putting up pictures of food.
Yeah, there are a lot of pictures of food. The last 6 months of my life, the food pics There's some delicious lamb lollipops in there. The prime roast, the prime rib that I cooked for Christmas is up there. A delicious meal at Momofuku here in D.C. is up there. There's some good picks in there.
All right. Panthers-Seahawks. So this site called Hawk Blogger. Shout out to Hawk Blogger. 10 facts you should know about the Seahawks and Panthers, written by...
Hey, I clicked on that too.
Yeah, written by Brian Nemhauser. Good job, Brian.
That's what I just quoted from about the defense being improved.
Yeah. So the Seahawks, here are just facts from him. The Seahawks have played the Panthers 5 times in the last 4 years. They're 4-1 in those games. Carolina has played just 4 teams with winning records this year, and 2 of those teams were 9-7, Houston and Washington. He has the thing you mentioned about how the entire defense is back. Bruce Irvin has 7 sacks in 4 career games against Cam Newton. Kerry Williams does not play for Seattle anymore, who's somebody Cam Newton picked on. Panthers are missing 2 of their top 3 cornerbacks. Carolina has only played 1 game this year where they failed to force a turnover, and that was against Seattle. Cam Newton's passer rating after 3 quarters in the first game was 15.5. The Panthers have only trailed 1 team at halftime and at the end of 3 quarters this season, and that was Seattle. Carolina this year has only faced 1 top 5 defense and 1 top 5 offense, and it was the Seattle Seahawks. Thanks to Hawk Blogger for those
Great
stats.
job by Hawk Blogger.
I mean, you see all that stuff, and you think this looks really good for Seattle. And yet I'm taking Carolina.
We also like the same season, revenge angle for the against the spread. At least I like it.
I do too. I'm taking Carolina. I just want to get all of that whole case out there. I get it. I totally get it.
That's fantastic.
I just think this is a nobody believes in this game. And I believe in Cam Newton. I think he's been the best player in the league this year. And this is a Cam Newton, I'm the best player in the league game. He's going to win this game. I believe in Cam Newton. I'm throwing out all other logic out the window. I believe in Cam Newton. I think he's going to win this game. I think he's ready for a big playoff moment. I like what I've seen all season from him.
I'm glad. We're on opposite sides of this.
Yeah.
I'm definitely taking Seattle. We need one where we're on the opposite sides of each other.
And if Ted Ginn drops the 55-yard touchdown that screws me over and leads to the Seattle win, I'm going to be angry.
You should prepare to be angry.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah.
Carolina, nobody believes in you except for me, Bill Simmons. So we have Pats -5. We both have that one over KC. We have Pittsburgh +9 in Denver. We have Arizona -7 over Green Bay. And you have Seattle +2. I have Carolina -2. House.
It's a good slate.
No NBA talk for us this week. Other than, did you see Kawhi shut down LeBron?
Yeah, that was an impressive beatdown last night.
Did you see?
They're just the best. Can we just, San Antonio is the best team in basketball. All due respect to Golden State.
It's going to be really interesting if everyone's healthy on both sides and it's San Antonio versus Golden State in round 3 with Golden State with home court advantage, and yet San Antonio is probably going to be either favored or it's going to be dead even from a gambling standpoint in that series, because when they throw out Duncan and Aldridge together with Kawhi, can we call Tony Parker rejuvenated? I feel like we kind of can. Have you seen him? He looks good.
After what we saw over the summer and the pessimism, the proper pessimism from how beat up he looked, some combination of rest, maybe a wonderful shipment of Nature Box, rest, diet. I don't know what else. He's rejuvenated.
He looks great. If he's gonna, that was my biggest question for him, and he's got the hop and a step back, and they got shooters and they got lots of looks they can throw. But man, when you're throwing Duncan and Aldridge out together, that is like Cleveland. Not sure what their answer is. Yeah, they
don't have an answer.
I counted out LeBron a little bit last year. I was like, this is what happens. It's year 12 for him. He's not at his apex anymore. This is a different level for him. And then all of a sudden he clicked his fingers and he was LeBron again. Watching this year, now it's year 13 for him. The one thing I've noticed, and it'll be interesting to see, is as the year goes along, if this comes back, but it doesn't seem like his first step is there like it used to be. It seems like people can move their feet left to right and stay in front of him more, and he's getting a lot of calls that seem like they could be charges, or a lot of like no calls where He's just kind of plowing into guys. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that's been going on a little bit like the last year and a half, it seems like.
But especially this year.
Yeah.
Just seems like watching Kawhi last night, he just had a look like, this guy, I'm going to stay in front of this guy. I can stay in front of this guy. He can't get by me. And I don't remember, 3 years ago, you did not see that. So
I don't know. Kawhi is special in that regard too, though.
He is. I kept telling you. Remember earlier in the year, I was telling you to buy 50-1 MVP odds on him, and you were like, "No, I'm too much of a puss. I can't do it."
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. There's no way he can do it. It's going to be Steph Curry.
San Antonio, Golden State. It really has a chance. That one
the
has
two of them are already
an
at the
all-time
moment.
chance.
Yeah, because of they're both the point differential for both of them is like a historical. They're both in like the top 5 or top 10 all time at this point in the season.
You know what I liked? That Golden State sucked in Denver without Draymond. I'm starting to think he might be my number 1 MVP choice. Oh,
you were felt validated, vindicated by the fact that they didn't look. They looked a little discombobulated. I like that Denver effort, by the way. I like that Denver team.
I like guys on that team. I agree. I think they should go the other way and make a trade to try to make the team better. I like Gallinari.
Me too.
This Will Barton, who was like a second rounder. This guy's a gem.
He just play.
I love Will Barton. Fareed, I've always liked. Yeah, they have dudes. They have guys.
They have dudes.
Moutier feels a little Tyreek-ish. Tyreek-ish to me.
He's a brand new point guard. I mean, they gave him the keys.
Have you watched? Are you into the college hoops vortex yet, or not really?
I'm still circling.
Okay.
I haven't sat down and watched any game from the beginning to the end. I watched nearly all of what was the double overtime game last week?
Oh, Kansas, Oklahoma, triple.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
I love that dude from Oklahoma.
It's a good year for college hoops. It's a rare good year with fun teams, and what we learned yesterday is Tate hates Duke so much that somebody brought up somebody on Duke yesterday, and Tate just went on some rant about I've never seen anything like it. We could watch Brandon Ingram. My house could be on fire right now, and Brandon Ingram could go in and pull my kids out of the house, and Tate would be like, "Oh, he's a loser. That guy's a loser. He never should have." I could have gotten the kids out of the house so much faster than that. Anyway, all right, we're gonna go to JackO.
Yeah, please figure out a way to save America, the two of you.
Housefromdc.com. Check out his new site.
Check it
Talk
out.
to you soon. All right. Before we get to JackO, I have a little tip that will save you a huge headache later. You ready? Any home security that says it's free has a huge contract attached. 3 years, $1,000. Guess what? You're locked in. Well, there's a better way to protect your home. Simply Safe Home Security. We have talked about them many times on this podcast. Simply Safe has no long-term contracts. You get the best 24/7 protection possible for just $14.99 a month. It's the only security I trust. Visit simplysafebill.com to get my 10% off discount. simplysafebill.com. Speaking of security, we might need security from JackO right now. Let's call him.
Complex Litigation, this is John.
Johnny. I was worried about you last night on Twitter.
Were you? Yeah.
It was like who was the guy in Network in 1976 for that movie? The guy who freaks out?
I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, that guy. You were that guy.
Yeah, Howard something, I think his name was. It escapes me. But yeah, it was a little bit before our time, but that's an iconic scene, so I did remember that. Yeah, I am that guy. I feel like I am that guy screaming that at the Republican Party, but they're not listening to me, so they're going to go off the cliff, and I'll just be here in the fetal position.
You're a diehard Republican who can't believe that your party seems to be going to hell right now in a handbasket.
That's exactly right. I mean, I was raised as a Reagan-Buckley conservative and proudly have maintained that mantle. And I'm just completely dumbfounded that at what should be a very winnable election, the party has hitched a large majority of the party, let's not kid ourselves, has hitched its wagon to Donald J. Trump, essentially a lifelong Democrat, certainly as a financial supporter of Democrats, and more importantly, a blithering fucking buffoon. who is so wildly unqualified to be president that it's downright frightening. And the American people are going to see that, and he's going to lose in a landslide. But we're going to go right on his train there. It's frightening.
He had like a poignant moment when he talked about New York and 9/11 last night, and people were like, "Oh, a human moment from Donald Trump." That's a bad sign.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, everybody today is like, people that should know better have giving him these glowing reviews because he, wrapped himself up in the mantle of 9/11 in response to Ted Cruz's idiotic attack of New York values. I mean, there's so much more to attack Trump on than the fact that he's from New York.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. He was a liberal as of like 3 years ago. So the notion that he has New York values of, supporting abortion or gun control or all the other positions that he held until 5 minutes ago. Everybody knows that, and they don't seem to care. So I think there's ways to attack Donald Trump more effectively than New York values. And even dumber for Cruz was Trump had gone on TV yesterday. I think it was yesterday before the debate, or maybe it was Wednesday, and it was sometime prior to the debate, and he had basically, some reporter had asked him this question, and he already gave the 9/11 answer then.
Yeah.
So he had to know he was going to do it again. So it's like, don't walk into his trap of giving him this chance to get misty-eyed about 9/11.
Who are you rooting for?
I like Rubio.
Who's just been...
I think Rubio is the most effective Republican presidential candidate in at least a generation, and that he's young, he's forward-looking, he's well-spoken, he's extremely knowledgeable on the issues. Now, people don't like him because he can come across as too packaged or too rehearsed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's great in these debates. He always has answers on the issues. And what harms him is that he foolishly got on board with Chuck Schumer and this Gang of Eight immigration bill a few years ago. That would have been a disaster for the country, and it would have been a disaster for the Republican Party. And he got sort of led down the road, signed on to that, and now he's semi-repudiated that. But that's like the one great scarlet letter in the Republican Party now is immigration. Everybody's all in on being a populist and being, anti more immigration. So that's his great sin, even though Donald Trump has 20 other quote unquote sins of supporting Democrats in the past that we just slough off because, he calls people stupid and yells and screams, and that's wonderful. Nice. So I like Rubio, but I mean, at this point, I think it's too late, unfortunately. And so we're going to nominate Trump, who's going to literally lose 35 states. It's going to be a landslide, and the party is going to be a disaster. And all these people are angry at the quote-unquote Republican establishment, which is understandable. If you want to primary Mitch McConnell, I would give you money. I'd support it. You want to challenge all the entrenched Washington elite? Absolutely. But the answer to challenging the Washington elite is not to nominate Donald Trump, lose an election resoundingly, and then think, well, now the elites are going to become even more conservative, because they're not. Now they're going to say, look, we ran your boy Trump and he got his ass handed to him. So now we're going to become even more liberal. So that's going to fracture the Republican Party, which will be out in the wilderness for a decade or more now.
It sounds bleak.
It's terribly bleak. The country is a mess. The world is a mess. When you have this week when the United States Navy, the most powerful military in the history of mankind, and our sailors are treated like hostages by this third-rate nation, American sailors on their knees, blindfolded and held overnight, and our leaders say, "Thank you, Iran, for being so wonderful. Thank you. May I have another?" That's the vision of the future, because that's what we're going to end up with. We're going to have 4 or 8 more years of that.
So,
but the Republican Party, they like Donald Trump because he calls people stupid and that you're ugly and you're stupid. That's wonderful. That's our wonderful vision to put forward for the country. It's embarrassing.
Who are you? Are you disappointed in Chris Christie that he never got it together, or you never thought he had a chance?
No, because I don't love Chris Christie.
All right.
I like Rubio. Rubio is my guy. I had some hopes early on for Scott Walker, who's the governor of Wisconsin, who I also like, but he was too milquetoast. And the problem for all these guys is that basically Obama has cleaned the Republicans' clocks for years, even though the Republicans have made amazing gains in midterm elections and what have you. But they haven't done anything legislatively. They haven't challenged him. They haven't fought back enough. So the base is extremely angry, and what they want is like raw red meat. They want blood, basically. And these guys that are trying to be like competent and positive and knowledgeable on things, that doesn't count anymore. You need to be screaming and ranting and like foaming at the mouth like Trump, and that's like you're fighting back against political correctness.
So when you see the Democrats, which they aren't doing that as much, but like it seems like Hillary's gonna take it, right? Is there any Bernie Sanders chance or not?
Well, I don't know. Hillary is. It's funny. I was out with some buddies the other night. We were watching the college football national championship game, and I was lamenting this Trump. I was doing this Trump rant, lamenting the state of the Republican Party, and he's a liberal Democrat. He's not really down with Hillary, but he doesn't think that Bernie can win.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's really no enthusiasm for Hillary Clinton in the Democratic Party.
Doesn't seem like
the real enthusiasm in the Democratic Party now, which is essentially it's all Ivy League egghead, essentially socialists, old hippies that are, that they've taken over the party. They love Bernie Sanders. They love 90% confiscatory tax rates. That's the greatest, and redistributing the wealth. They can't wait for that. But they don't think that Bernie can win. I mean, their heart is really with Elizabeth Warren, who hasn't run.
Yeah.
But all these polls, Hillary should be like wiping the floor with Bernie, who isn't even really sort of only running half-assed and gets like enormous crowds, and he's had enormous fundraising. Because the Democratic Party, their heart is with him. They don't love Hillary. It's the same thing that happened when Obama beat her in 2008. Their heart was with him, and he was a much more viable candidate than Bernie. But what's going to happen to her if she's not careful? If she loses Iowa and she loses New Hampshire, the party's going to get together and they're going to say, we can't run her. She can't win. And they know Bernie is not really a true presidential candidate. So what could happen is, I mean, the party could get together and have Joe Biden parachute in with Elizabeth Warren as his running mate, and they'd wipe the floor with her. That'd be the end of Hillary. They'd have to drag her out kicking and screaming, but I don't think she could get the nomination in that circumstance. So I think she's in some trouble.
What are the
which
Joe
is all
Biden
the more
odds?
why it's all the more agonizing for the Republicans to be fooling around with Trump when it's a totally winnable election.
I wonder what odds are out there on Joe Biden right now.
I mean, he gave some interview the other day, which was surprising, right before the State of the Union, and they said, the reporter said to him, it was actually a Connecticut reporter, it was here, a local Connecticut interview, and she said, do you regret not running? And he's like, every single day.
Wow.
That's a pretty strong statement, obviously. So,
have we, you know this stuff more than I do. Has there ever been a weirder political election year than 2016? What's topped it?
Well, this one is pretty crazy because, if you had told me a year ago that Donald Trump was going to be the overwhelming favorite to be the Republican nominee, I'd have said, what are you smoking? It's ridiculous. But,
a year ago, it was like 3 months ago we were laughing about it.
Exactly. It was like a joke. I mean, there's been other odd years, certainly. I mean, in a lot of ways, this is like 1968, because LBJ was he was completely embroiled by Vietnam.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party was wildly against that. Everybody thought that he would cruise to the nomination, and he suddenly announces that he's not going to run. Eugene McCarthy, who was an anti-war senator from New Hampshire, I think it's from South Dakota, he wins New Hampshire, or almost wins New Hampshire, and he caught fire, and the Democrats said he can't possibly win. And that's when Bobby Kennedy got involved, and Hubert Humphrey ultimately was the nominee because Bobby Kennedy got assassinated. But in terms of like strange things and surprising things and people getting in at the last minute, it sort of resembles that.
I've known you for a long time. This is the most upset I've ever heard you about anything. I mean, I've seen you upset, like especially at like 2 a.m. in college when somebody wouldn't let us into a party or somebody ran out of a keg, or you've definitely flown off the handle, or like a late night pinochle game, or somebody made a comment you didn't like you've definitely, I've seen you throw some tantrums. This is the most upset I've ever heard you.
Well, because this is literally the future of the country is at stake. I mean, Donald Trump's ascendancy, and it may already be too late, it has the potential to destroy the Republican Party as we know it. I mean, these Tea Party people may just go and form a third party, and then you're just going to have Democratic rule for as far as the eye can see, and the country can't take any more of that in terms of the taxing and the spending. We have $19 trillion in debt. We're only going to add to that because Hillary's trying to out Sanders. We're going to pay for everybody to go to college. We're going to pay for everything for everybody. Take everybody's money. We're going to pay for everything for everybody. It's unsustainable in a country with 300 million people. It's totally unsustainable. So it's really, I have young kids. I have a soon-to-be 10-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'd like to have some country left for them that resembles somewhat of the country that we grew up in, and I'm not sure that that's going to be possible, frankly.
When you're out with your friends and stuff on a Friday night, do they just not even bring this stuff up with you anymore? You're so upset. They're just like, so how the Yankees looking there, JackO? Seen any movies?
Yeah, most of my friends are of mixed politics, so I never really talk about politics with friends anyway. But yeah, when it's brought up and something about Trump, and just like start quietly shaking my head and looking down at my shoes, and they just know to move on.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, Johnny.
Nah, there's nothing you can do.
This Trump thing is the most flabbergasting thing I think that's happened since I've been alive. I just don't understand it. It's unbelievable.
It's really incredible. I mean, I posted a thing on Twitter yesterday of some rally of his the other day, and they had these young kids. You know, I'm not going to kill the young kids that are, put up to this by their parents or whatever, but these young girls in like red, white, and blue leotards, and they sing this song to Trump that was like straight out of the Kim Jong-il songbook. And this thing, like, it starts off with these kids saying, "Cowardice, not amongst us," or something. And I was just like, oh my God, what country is this? And these people at these rallies, like, it's like a religious revival. Like, these people are like orgasmic at a freaking Trump rally. It's unbelievable. And he says things that are just so stupid. I mean, I'm just sitting there going, he is so fucking stupid. I mean, Jesus Christ, he's so fucking stupid. How can you be like waving your flags and singing anthems to him? It's mind-boggling.
If Mike and the Mad Dog were still together, Mad Dog would be like, I mean, Mike, he was 10 years ago, he was telling Omarosa that you're fired, and now he's going to be the president.
Exactly. It's just,
it is a humongous mistake by the United States of America.
Yeah, it's quite a pickle.
Well, all right, Chad.
Hey, at least the Yankees have the greatest bullpen in the history of baseball, so that's good for me.
Yeah, you reconciled that Chapman thing.
Well, we don't support his off-the-field issues, but everybody runs into problems now and again, and hopefully those kids will work it out, and whatever his punishment is, we'll take that and we'll move on.
Who's the closer?
He is.
Oh, wow.
I was surprised. Girardi came out the other day and said going into spring training, Chapman's the closer. I was shocked by that. I figured they'd go with Miller, but then they said, well, Chapman's been a closer and he's never been a setup guy, and Miller and Betances have both been setup guys, so they're used to that role. So
that really is, on paper, probably the greatest bullpen anyone's ever had.
It really is.
It's an amazing bullpen.
I mean, the Yankees had good ones in the past, like in '96 when they had Ramiro Mendoza as a setup guy when he was effective, and Mariano and Wetland. But I mean,
not three guys.
Three guys. Miller had whatever many saves he had last year. It was like one of the top closers in the AL. Betances was phenomenal. He had like a .91 ERA. He throws like 100, and Chapman throws over 100. I mean, the Yankees have a lead in the sixth inning, and the game's over.
Well, at least you got that to look forward to as the country's falling apart.
It's like the Roman Empire when there was bread and circuses. They gave everybody bread and had circuses for entertainment. Nobody noticed that the Roman Empire was collapsing around them. So I'll just entertain myself with the Yankees bullpen while the country collapses around me.
All right, you can check him out on @JackO2323 on Twitter. He melts down every once in a while. I'm sorry this is happening to you, but I look forward to continue to have you on over the course of the campaign.
Phenomenal.
Talk to you soon, buddy.
Can't wait. Bye-bye.
All right, last but not least, we're gonna call my dad really quickly because he's freaking out about the Patriots.
Am I on the podcast right now?
Yes.
Oh.
Are you awake? Are you taking a mid-afternoon nap?
Well, I am older. I'm really nervous.
Yeah, I figured. I was just checking in really quick. Tumultuous week for the Patriots.
Well, maybe the weirdest week ever. Except for the Hernandez being accused of murdering.
Yeah, that was probably weirder.
Yeah, that might have been weirder.
What about Irving Fryer's wife stabbing him with a knife in his hand, knocking him out of whatever game that was? That was pretty weird.
I forgot that one, but this one was pretty weird. And then when you thought it couldn't get weirder, you start reading yesterday that Gronk, the most invaluable player besides Brady, is in the hospital getting some kind of injection, probably cortisone. And then last night they released a second injury report, and the back that he's already had operated on twice is a problem. I mean, really? All this is going on now?
I'm still taking the Pats.
I'm still taking the Pats, but it's been you and I have talked, but if I know a lot of teams have had injuries. You look at Pittsburgh and other teams as well. I don't know that any team has had as many injuries as we have had, and it's been a really crazy season. You just look back at the team we had in the beginning when Lewis was running, and we had the big back and the small back, and it's just not the same team. I don't know.
So you don't like us -5?
I think we can win this game. I'm not sure what happens after that. I mean, every game we have, it seems like somebody else gets injured, so you worry about that, even if everybody suits up on Saturday.
I certainly was a lot more optimistic around Week 9.
Oh, sure.
I'm looking back fondly at Week 9, but our defense is really good, and that's what I'm holding out hope for with the Chiefs. What is the reaction? The reason I was calling was what is like in Boston right now? All this stuff's going on. Belichick has a weird black eye that he won't talk about. Like, what are people talking about there?
Well, if you listen to talk radio, which occasionally I do, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories, and the funniest one I heard was yesterday. Late yesterday afternoon, that Belichick went to break up a fight between Gronkowski and Chandler Jones, who Chandler being out of his mind at the moment, and got punched as he tried to separate them, and Gronk hurt his back. Belichick got the black eye, and Chandler Jones ended up in the hospital.
That's a good one. So that ties in all of them. Yeah, that ties in all three things.
It ties in all three things, and there's a possibility if you think about it, but of course, not really. But it's funny to think about, but not really funny. So I don't know. A lot of conspiracy theories. The black guy on Belichick, of course, that he won't talk about, lends all kinds of storytelling for people when you combine that with what happened with the unbelievable morning for Chandler Jones.
Well, if the Pats lose this game, knowing how the city of Boston goes with stuff like this, it's going to be a long next couple weeks for Chandler Jones, Belichick, all those people. I think there's going to be a lot of saltiness.
I won't be shocked if Chandler Jones doesn't go out there and have an unbelievable game. Maybe whatever he took that on Saturday night, maybe he should take just a smaller amount.
No, come on. I agree with you, though. I really like Chandler. I was bummed out that it was him because he was one of my favorite Patriots. They mic'd him up for a couple of games this year, and he just seemed like he had one of the best personalities on the team. Great teammate. I love the way he played. Like, he had an awesome season.
Yeah, me too. All of that.
It's really exciting. Not a typical guy that we have, like just this athletic pass rusher that every other team usually has, and the Patriots never have.
Right.
But, I was bummed.
The other, I think he's a restricted or might be a restricted free agent this year, or has one more year.
Well, I think his price is down.
Yeah, his price is down. So maybe he'll have a great game to show people that he didn't want to be a negative influence on the biggest game so far in the year, and maybe he'll take a hometown discount to re-up.
What is that? Your Saturday 4:30 p.m. Is are you going to be alone? Who's watching? What's happening?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm encouraging
my stepmother,
your stepmother, my wife Molly, to go shopping, have her nails done. Come back we have a family dinner at one of our favorite restaurants, Toscano's, being run by my brother Don at 8:15 Saturday night. So overtime is bad. So it's can I just spell this out for you? Me. I'll come for dessert. They can all meet at 8:15, and hopefully I'll still be alone watching TV with my trusted golden retriever. But I don't want overtime. I don't think my heart can take overtime. I want a 27-14 victory, and I want to see Macklin doesn't play, or he goes out there and he's limping so badly he doesn't have an impact. Because they don't have much else besides Macklin when you look at their.
The tight end's
I know
good.
the tight
Yeah.
end is good, but
I don't like your plan. I don't like your Saturday plan. But having spent a lot of time in that house, and even written about it, and I might have even done a cartoon about it at some point. Your wife has the ability to if you send her out, she's going to come home with like 6 minutes left in the game, and during some crucial moment of it.
That when she goes out, she can be out long enough that then she can, wherever she goes, she can go directly to dinner at the restaurant.
That's a lot to ask.
Home.
Yeah, I don't see that. Her history says she's going to be back with 5 minutes, and there's going to be some question that popped up that she had to ask you, and it'll be right during a third down.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I could shut the door.
Yeah, but then you bad blood for next week. You don't want to do that either.
Well, it's not that, but like everyone else, I have a superstitious way of watching the game. I sit in a certain spot. The doors open a certain way. You do the same thing.
You're a little worse than I am.
Maybe.
You had your brother was visiting week 17, and you let him watch the game with you, but only if he didn't talk unless it was a timeout, which I thought was an interesting move.
Yeah, we set ground rules before the game started. He did very well with the ground rules. A couple of times he started to say something, and I said, Greg. And he remembered the ground rule, and he waited until the commercial. But I'm sure there's people across the state of Massachusetts who have similar ground rules.
Well,
right?
I think the move, if your dinner's at 8:15, the move is to send your wife out for drinks at like 7, like to get a pre-dinner drink with somebody.
Oh, maybe at halftime.
Yeah. Try to hook her up with somebody who doesn't care about the game for a little pre-dinner drink, and then you're off the hook.
Actually, that's a better idea because.
Thanks.
I will. Can I tell her that you suggested this idea?
No, don't tell her. And she won't listen to the podcast, so she won't know unless somebody brings it up on one of your dog walks or something. But yeah, I think that's the move.
That sounds like the move. Because like you said, I can see her coming in with 5 minutes to go, a tie game. We have the ball on the 40-yard line, and she wants to know how's the game going, or what am I wearing to dinner, something like that.
We had some classics where your old house where you could see the lights in the driveway would come in, and it would always be like the 8th inning, 2 outs, bases loaded. Pedro trying to get out of a jam, and then the lights would start hitting the thing. Like, oh!
And the window that faced the driveway was next to where the TV was, so it was hard to miss the lights.
Well, the good news is that my wife does all that same stuff too. So I think it's hereditary, even though they're not related.
Maybe your wife likes football a little bit. As you know, your stepmom doesn't really like football.
Yeah, my wife doesn't really care either.
Her sport is basketball. Fortunately, that helps.
Unfortunately, with the Celtics,
we're going to the Phoenix Suns game tonight.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
Should be a good one.
That could be a win.
It's maybe the last game Markieff Morris is going to play, from what I'm reading.
Oh, he's getting traded?
There's lots of rumors about him being traded. I'd take him in a heartbeat, but
I would too.
Wouldn't you?
We need
package a couple of guys.
Need to change the Celtics team somehow. I'm not sure how, but it's a bunch of.
We have too many similar pieces at each position.
Yeah, it's like watching a movie where there's a bunch of guys I've heard of. It's like an action movie. There's a bunch of guys I've heard of, but there's not the lead guy. And it's fine. It's like an ensemble movie. It's a cable movie. It's fine, but like you wouldn't pay to see it in the theater. That's the Celtics this season.
Well, they're not going to get a lead guy out of any trades. Well, there's certainly no rumors going around about a lead guy, but I think Morris. Well, he's just an example of somebody. If we traded 2 for 1,
yeah, we need to make a 3 for 1.
It would help with the logjam we have at forward.
Every time Brooklyn wins, a part of you, a little piece of you dies, right?
Can you believe? I mean, we lost to the Knicks on Wednesday night, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I saw that the Knicks played Brooklyn the next night, but of course, I forgot that Carmelo got injured in our game.
Yeah.
And he didn't play against the Nets, and I look at the box score and I cringed. Yeah.
I thought when
a couple of teams with 12 wins.
I know. I thought when Jared Jack got hurt and then they fired the coach, I was expecting like a 30-loss tailspin for them. And yet somehow.
The only thing, I read on Hoops Hype today that I didn't realize this, but 3 Nets players were quoted as talking about how hard it was to play for Hollins and how much they feel relieved to be playing with some freedom with this new coach.
Yeah, that's not
I wish they hadn't fired Highlands. I didn't know that was going on.
That's not good. My fear for them is that they're going to do some trade where they trade Joe Johnson's expiring contract and get real players back with longer contracts, because what do they care? They're screwed for the next 3 years anyway.
Right.
So, like, if they traded Joe Johnson to New Orleans for Tyreek Evans and Eric Gordon. They just got both of them back, and Tyreek's contract goes a year after this one. Eric Gordon's expiring. But for New Orleans, they're getting rid of the Tyreek contract. I'm not saying New Orleans would do that, but a type of trade like that where they're getting 2 bodies back but longer contracts and they'll be slightly better this year, that's our worst case scenario. Please don't make that trade, Brooklyn.
I think it's more apt that he'll be traded to a contender or they're just going to buy him out.
If I was running the Nets, I would trade the Joe Johnson pick for players. Like I would be calling Houston, trying to get Dwight Howard and Ty Lawson for Joe Johnson. Like just basically throw them a whole bailout for their whole luxury tax situation. Everything. Houston's not going to win the title this year. I'd be making all of those calls. I'd try to get Markieff Morris.
Well, maybe they are making those calls.
Conceivably, they could offer Tyson. They could get Tyson Chandler and Markieff Morris from Phoenix for Joe Johnson's expiring, and basically give Phoenix a reset button.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm worried about with the Nets.
Or we could do the same thing with David Lee's contract.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in a similar position. He's a much more. I mean, I thought he'd be more helpful to us this year. I've watched him pretty carefully. He's on the downside. He doesn't have the leap in his legs that he used to have. So you probably have noticed he's getting these short shots blocked.
He's below the rim now.
I like him. He's a great team guy. If you watch him on the bench, he's terrific.
Yeah. And he can't guard anybody. Too bad. Disappointing season. All right. Execute that plan on Saturday night. I'll be texting you during the game. Good luck. Go Pats. Talk to you soon. All right.
Good.
Thanks to Simply Safe for sponsoring today's BS podcast. Remember, it's the smartest way to protect your home. No long-term contracts and the best 24/7 protection possible for just $14.99 a month. Visit simplysafebill.com to get my 10% off discount. simplysafebill.com. Thanks to HBO, you don't need cable or satellite to watch HBO anymore. Just download the HBO Now app. Start your free 1-month trial today. Thanks to SeatGeek, the presenting sponsor of the BS podcast, and Channel 33. Channel 33 was awesome this week. The premiere of Amanda Dobbins joining Juliet Littman. They're going to have a weekly podcast. Chris Ryan and Andy Greenwald. We had Juliet's Bachelor Pod. We had Chris Ryan and Juliet Littman doing Sources Say about the NBA. A loaded week. So subscribe to that as well. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the football. And we will be back on Monday with the Cuz.
We about this bitch. Anytime y'all want to see me again, rewind this track right here, close your eyes, and picture me rolling.